Hi there, it's Ollie Epsom here again, and we're back on my my boat radioactivity. Obviously, last year or so, done quite a lot of work to the outside of it, not much to the inside, so it's a bit tatty. One thing we do have is a good engine, and I'd like to keep it that way. So what I'm going to do today is descale the inside of the engine, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to try and do that, and also why. So the first thing you're going to want to do with any of these projects is to make sure your engine is nice and warm, because whatever you put inside there is going to work a hell of a lot better once the engine's warm. Apart from the fact that you need the heat for chemical reactions to take place, these engines will have a thermostat, so if the engine's cold, whatever you put in will just bypass the main parts of the engine and go straight out the other end without actually touching the bits that you want to clean. Okay, so let's take a look. So turn the engine on, we just put the ignition key on here, silent button there, and start. What you're going to be looking for is obviously water coming out the back. Now, as you can see, there's not a lot coming out the back of this engine. This is indicative of the fact that the inside of the engine ain't too good. And before you go, it's the impeller. It isn't, because I've changed it. Let's take a look at what happens when we speed the engine up a bit. Okay, so warm the engine up now for a good few minutes, turn it off because of the din. The next thing we're going to want to do is clear access to the engine, so I've already taken the stairs away. We're just going to open the front panel here. Now, move that back there, out of the way. Now, because I'm an engineer, you're about to see something which I think you're going to like. So if we look here at the engine, we're obviously seeing pretty standard engine. Very dark, can't really see anything, very difficult to get any idea on what's going on here. It doesn't get much better if I open the side panel. So it doesn't get a lot better if I open the side panel, but let's do that anyway. As I said, doesn't give it much better, but it does give us access. However, this is where Ollie Epsom becomes Ollie Epsom again, and if we look here on the control panel, always turn the ignition off before sticking your hands in the engine. You see these two switches, turn that one, and the built-in lights come on, just to give you an idea. Off, on, off, on. Okay, so we're going to look at what we need to do, look at the areas on the engine. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here, obviously, is we're going to look at our old friend, the manual. Now, as you know, I am an engineer by profession, and it's long been sort of a thing of mine that I quite like Japanese equipment. What we've got here is a Yanmar 1GM10 engine. I don't know what engines are common where you live, but where I live in Scotland, this is a very, very common engine on a range of small boats. It's not very powerful, it's about 10 horsepower, single cylinder, indirect injection diesel engine. You can see the main components of it here. Now, this engine I think is pretty new. I think it was installed just before I bought the boat about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's not done that much in the hours, and I've generally looked after it. If you look, I have both manuals here. I have the 1GM10 manual and also the older manual for the 1GM series. There's very little difference between the two engines. I think Yanmar have been making basically the same thing since 1980. The reason I'm using the 1GM, the older manual, instead of the newer manual is because this is the diagram you get on the newer manual, which is really just a schematic and doesn't give you a great deal of information about what's happening. What I need to do is be able to identify the components easily, and that's why I have the GM10 manual, sorry, 1GM manual. What you've got here is the seawater comes in from the seawater strainer, which is here, and then it goes around this inlet hose here around the back of the engine and into the water pump, which is here just behind the not the flywheel but the alternator pulley. That pump is gear driven off the engine. From the outlet of that pump there's this rubber hose, silver rubber hose, and that is connected to a T-section here, one bit of which goes into the engine block, and the other bit goes up through this small rubber hose here into this unit, which is the thermostat unit. Now that thermostat, the job of that is to bypass the water when the engine's cold. So basically if the engine's cold and you've just started it, what happens is that thermostat closes, which means that water can't get through the engine block and out through the head, and instead it diverts it straight through the thermostat. And then from the thermostat, whether it's cold or hot, whether it's been through the engine or not, it'll then come out of there and straight into the mixing elbow. Now the mixing elbow is quite important because the exhaust obviously from the engine is quite hot and it goes down through a rubber hose. So one of the reasons that the raw water is dumped into the mixing hose is in order to basically cool it down on the outlet, on the rubber hose outlet there. Otherwise you might run the risk of melting your rubber hose. You'll get away with it for a few minutes, but not as long as I'd like. Now on this 1GM manual, it says there's also a drain plug and a little hose on the thermostat. Now that doesn't appear to be the case on the 1GM10, and that is not shown on the 1GM10 schematic. So there's probably a couple of minor differences like that between the two engines. Just so you know, obviously internal combustion engines are very low efficiency engines, so even diesels, which are amongst the best, you're probably only looking good one 40% efficiency. Much higher if you've got a big diesel engine that you can control very well, but these small diesel engines are probably even lower than 30%, to be honest. 30% of the heat probably disappears down the exhaust pipe, hence why that needs to be cooled, and then 30% of the heat roughly goes into the radiator cooling system on a land vehicle. Now because on this vehicle there is no radiator, the radiator is also the exhaust pipe, you can be sure that about 60% of the total energy in the fuel that's coming into the engine is actually disappearing through the exhaust pipe in hot gas and hot water, and at best sort of 30% maybe is going through the propeller shaft, and maybe another 10% is just miscellaneous sort of heat radiating through the side into the engine compartment, or noise, or all the rest of it. And that is why we need a cooling system, because if you've got 10 horsepower of propulsive power, then you need sort of 30 odd horsepower of cooling. Okay, let's see what we're going to do next. Okay, so I've done a little bit of plumbing, and what we've got here is basically a bucket, and what I've done is I've taken the suction hose from the water pump here and put that in a bucket with a strainer on it that I've made out of an old glove. I've then taken the thermostat cover discharge hose here, and I've ran that down back into the bucket. So effectively what we've got now is a closed loop system, so it's going to suck water from here, run it through the engine, and then blow it back in here. Now obviously over time this bucket is going to get hotter and hotter and hotter, so we're going to get warm. Then most importantly, I've connected this hose here to the discharge elbow, so I'm going to basically supplement the water that would be coming out of the engine with fresh water going down the discharge hose. Now that's all very well, Ollie, I hear you say, but what about cleaning? Why are you doing this in the first place? Well, I've got calcium carbonate building up in the back end of the engine here. I've recently done a service, replaced the anodes, etc., but I suspect a lot of the hoses and areas like that are covered, so I am going to be cleaning the engine with a well-known household product. This is distilled vinegar. Now we're going to chuck that in there. Oh good, it's got, you can tell I didn't practice that, it's got one of those little discharge things in it. But we're going to obviously cut to commercial first. Now while I'm doing this, I can basically tell you that the vinegar's at pH of about 2.9 I believe, versus about 5.5 for water, so that should, along with a little bit of heat, hasten the chemical breakdown of the mainly calcium carbonate deposits that are in there. So we've got quite a lot of this stuff. I'm not sure how much, what sort of dilute fraction we should go in for the first place, but we're going to try it, and you know, in theory, if we get little chunks of crap coming out of the end of the tube, then we're onto a good one. And if not, then it could mean two things. It could mean there isn't a lot of mess in there, or it could mean that it's not breaking it down. And finally, guys, before I begin, I really cannot emphasize this enough, okay? The sort of thing I'm about to do is the sort of thing that if you get it wrong, you could kill yourself. There's two main reasons I've got this pipe here going up to the exhaust elbow. One of them is obviously to protect the engine because it's expensive, but the second one is to protect my life. If you don't have that, you will get exhaust blowback going into this compartment here. Carbon monoxide is going to settle low on the ground, and if you're standing here, which obviously I'm not planning to do, I'm going to go upstairs once this is running, but if you were, you could be knocked out very, very quickly. You know, you wouldn't even have time to realise it. So safety first, don't do it. Okay, let's try this out. Now we can see here, this is just fresh water coming out from the hose that I've connected to the engine. So it's always good to check that. Okay, so everything looks like it's going quite well. I don't know if you can hear me over the noise, but we've got a good circulation of cooling water. Stick my hand in the bucket, it's starting to get to about probably 30 odd degrees centigrade now. There really hasn't been much coming out of it, although it does look like the contents of the bucket are slightly darker. What we'll need to do, once we've got it up to temperature nice and warm, we'll turn the engine off, leave it there for an hour or so, and then come back to it. Do it again, leave it there for an hour or so, and then come back to it. Do that a couple of times, we should be good to go. Okay, so I've been running it through for about 15, 16 minutes, something like that. We're starting to get quite a lot of crap come out of the discharge hose back into the bucket, which is, I guess, the object of the exercise in the first place. So that's good. Starting to get some water vapour come off the bucket. It again indicates temperatures come up. Should have brought a thermometer with me, afraid I didn't. Sorry about that, my bad. What I've done is I've turned off the hose pipe cooling water to the exhaust port, turned off the engine, and I'm just going to go and leave it there hot to sort of settle for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, something like that. Go and get a cup of tea. Okay, after half an hour we're back on board. Water's still steaming a little bit here, so now we're going to turn the engine on and see what happens. What I have done is I phoned up a chemist friend of mine who explained that yes, I was right using the acid to start with, but he also recommended it that I then run a base solution through it afterwards. That's what I've done. I've ran some bleach through it, and that should hopefully clear the whole situation up. Right, so the argument is that acid has basically less electrons on it, so when it goes into metal it'll absorb a lot of electrons, which will break down a lot of stuff. Now metal apparently, I'm no chemist, but this is what I'm relaying the message. Metal apparently will give up a lot of ions, so it's quite important after you've poked acid through metal to neutralise it again or dilute it. I've obviously done both. Interestingly, of these samples here, this is the sample that I took from the engine after the acid or vinegar clean. This is the sample that I took after the alkali or base clean, and actually there's quite a significant darker tone in here, However, there doesn't appear to be any sort of suspended solids in it, whereas in here there's a lot of suspended solids. What I'm going to do now is a final purge with just fresh water. So we're going to put this in here, and I'm still going to leave the glove filter in place. And we'll do a sample with fresh water and take it from there. Right, so that is how I have gone about cleaning the raw water system on a Yanmar 1GM10 engine. Feel free to put any comments in the description below. I hope this has been of some use to you. It's certainly been an interesting little job for me. And as usual, be safe. Cannot emphasize enough how important it is to not get the exhaust into the area you're working at. Other than that, if you want to do this, go ahead. As usual, thank you for watching.